Let's be real, $70 has become the new standard for PS5 games, and it's getting ridiculous. You drop that kind of money on a game, and half the time it's either unfinished, needs 3 patches to be playable, or you realize it's not even worth half that price. Everyone's complaining about how expensive gaming has become, and honestly, they're right. But here's a secret nobody talks about. Some of the best games on PS5 cost a fraction of that, and they're worth every single dollar. So I did something that felt almost therapeutic. I went through the PlayStation Store, dug through sales, and made a list of 19 games that are either regularly priced under $20 or frequently drop below $20 during PlayStation Store sales. Always check current prices, and if something's sitting at $25, just wait for the next sale. It'll be worth it. And just so we're clear, this list is in no particular order. Game 1 isn't better than Game 19, they're all worth your money for different reasons. Let's get into it. Deathloop is Arcane Studios doing what they do best, immersive sim gameplay with creative freedom and style. You're playing as Colt, stuck in a time loop on an island, and your goal is to assassinate 8 targets in one day to break the cycle. The catch? Another assassin, Juliana, is hunting you, and she can be controlled by AI or another player. It's tense, creative, and endlessly replayable. The gameplay loop is addictive. You're exploring 4 districts across 4 time periods, gathering information, experimenting with weapons and powers, and planning the perfect run. The powers, teleportation, invisibility, linking enemies, give you creative freedom in how you approach targets. The gunplay is satisfying, the environments are dense with secrets, and the art direction is stylish as hell. The DualSense makes every weapon feel distinct, and the adaptive triggers add tension. The story is surprisingly engaging. Colt and Juliana's dynamic is sharp, funny, and well-written. The invasion mechanic adds unpredictability, and playing as Juliana hunting other players is a blast. Deathloop frequently drops to under $20 on sale, and it's one of the most unique games on PS5. If you love immersive sims, creative problem-solving, and style, this is a must-play. The Pathless is a beautiful, meditative action-adventure game from the creators of Abzu. You're playing as the Hunter, exploring a mystical island to lift a curse and free corrupted spirits. The traversal is the star. You're running through forests, shooting targets mid-sprint to maintain momentum, and the flow state you achieve is genuinely satisfying. There's no mini-map, no waypoints, just you, your eagle companion, and the world. The boss fights are spectacular. You're battling massive cursed spirits in arenas where you have to solve puzzles, avoid attacks, and exploit weaknesses. The fights are less about combat and more about movement, timing, and observation. The Eagle Companion adds a layer of exploration. You're soaring through the air, gliding between islands, and discovering secrets. The DualSense makes every arrow shot, every sprint, every eagle call feel responsive. The story is simple but effective, and the world is gorgeous. The art direction is stunning, the music is atmospheric, and the whole experience is relaxing yet engaging. The Pathless frequently drops to around $15 to $20 on sale, and it's perfect for when you want something chill but rewarding. If you loved Journey or Abzu, this is essential. Sonic Superstars is a return to classic 2D Sonic gameplay with modern polish, and it's a blast. You're playing as Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, or Amy, solo or in local co-op with up to 3 friends, and racing through levels filled with loops, springs, and secrets. The level design is excellent, fast when you want speed, but with enough branching paths and hidden areas to reward exploration. The new Emerald powers add variety to the classic formula. You're using powers like cloning yourself, slowing time, or creating platforms, and they make levels feel fresh. The boss fights are creative. Giant mechs, environmental hazards, multi-phase encounters. The co-op is chaotic and fun, and the competitive modes add replayability. The DualSense makes every spin dash, every jump, every ring collection feel snappy. The visuals are vibrant and colorful, and the soundtrack is catchy. Sonic Superstars isn't revolutionary, but it's a solid, polished Sonic game that respects the classics while adding modern touches. It frequently drops to around $20 on sale, and it's perfect for fans of 2D platformers. If you've been waiting for a good Sonic game, this is it. We're about a quarter of the way through the list, and I just want to say, if these recommendations are helping you figure out what to play next, hit that like button and subscribe. It genuinely helps the channel, and I'll keep making these lists as long as you keep watching. Alright, back to the games. A Plague Tale Requiem is a stunning sequel that improves on the first game in every way. You're playing as Amicia and Hugo, siblings on the run in medieval France while dealing with a supernatural plague of rats. The story's emotional, the performances are incredible, and the world building is rich. This is cinematic gaming done right. Every chapter feels like a high-budget film. The stealth gameplay is tense and satisfying. You're sneaking through environments, using light sources to control rat swarms and taking down enemies with precision. The puzzles are clever, requiring you to manipulate light, fire, and terrain. The set pieces are spectacular, escaping a collapsing city, navigating a battlefield filled with rats, infiltrating a fortress while avoiding guards and swarms. The DualSense makes every slingshot, every torch ignition, every rat encounter feel visceral. The visuals on PS5 are jaw-dropping. Performance mode runs at 60 FPS and still looks incredible. The world is oppressive and beautiful, and the lighting is some of the best in gaming. A Plague Tale Requiem frequently drops to around $20 on sale, and it's worth it. If you love story-driven games with tension and heart, this is essential. Just be prepared for emotional gut punches. Cult of the Lamb is one of the most addictive games I've played in years, and it's a perfect mix of roguelike dungeon crawling and cult management sim. You're a possessed lamb building a cult, exploring dungeons to gather resources, and sacrificing followers to gain power. The art style is adorable, cutesy characters doing absolutely horrific things, and the contrast is hilarious and disturbing in the best way. The gameplay loop is tight. You're venturing into dungeons, fighting enemies and bosses with randomized weapons and upgrades. Then you return to your cult, build structures, preach sermons, perform rituals, and manage followers' needs. The followers have personalities, needs, and beliefs, and keeping them happy or terrified is half the challenge. The rituals are dark, sacrifices, resurrections, brainwashing, and the game never shies away from its premise. The DualSense adds feedback to combat and interactions, and the progression feels satisfying. The boss fights are challenging but fair, and the cult customization is deep. Cult of the Lamb frequently drops to around $15–20 on sale, and it's perfect for short sessions or marathon runs. If you want something weird, charming, and incredibly fun, this is a must-play. Hitman 3 is the conclusion to IO Interactive's World of Assassination trilogy, and it's the best stealth action game on PS5. You're Agent 47, taking contracts around the world and eliminating targets using creativity, patience, and improvisation. The sandbox levels are masterpieces of design. Every location is dense with opportunities, disguises, routes, and ways to complete your mission. The standout levels are incredible. The opening mission in Dubai where you're infiltrating a skyscraper. The Dartmoor Manor mystery where you're solving a murder to get close to your target. The Berlin nightclub where you're being hunted by other assassins. The final mission in the Carpathian Mountains that ties the trilogy together emotionally. Every level rewards experimentation. You can replay missions dozens of times and discover new approaches. The DualSense adds subtle feedback to every action, and the VR mode, if you have PSVR 2, is genuinely incredible. Hitman 3 includes access to levels from Hitman 1 and 2 if you own them, making this the definitive Hitman package. It frequently drops to around $15–20 on sale, and it's worth it. If you love stealth, problem solving, and creative gameplay, Hitman 3 is essential. Subnautica is one of the best survival games ever made, and it's an underwater adventure that's equal parts beautiful and terrifying. You're stranded on an alien ocean planet after your ship crashes, and you have to survive by exploring, gathering resources, and building bases. The world is massive, filled with diverse biomes, shallow coral reefs, deep trenches, underwater caves, and open ocean that goes down forever. The exploration is the hook. Every dive reveals something new. A wreck to explore, a creature to scan, a biome you didn't know existed. The progression feels natural. You start with basic tools and gradually unlock submarines, advanced equipment, and base building capabilities. The creature designs are incredible. Some are beautiful and harmless, others are massive and terrifying. The first time you encounter a Reaper Leviathan in the deep, you'll understand true fear. The story is surprisingly engaging. You're uncovering the mystery of what happened to the planet, why you crashed, and how to escape. The pacing is player-driven. You explore at your own pace, and the game respects your curiosity. Subnautica frequently drops to under $10 on sale, and it's one of the best deals on PS5. If you love exploration and don't mind some tension, this is essential. Doom Eternal is pure, unfiltered aggression wrapped in a heavy metal album cover, and it's one of the most intense FPS experiences you can have. You're the Doomslayer, ripping and tearing through hordes of demons across Earth, Mars, and hell itself. The combat is fast, brutal, and endlessly satisfying. You're constantly moving, swapping weapons, and managing resources. Stand still, and you die. The gameplay loop is addictive. You're glory-killing demons for health, chainsawing for ammo, and setting enemies on fire for armor. It forces you to stay aggressive, to push forward even when overwhelmed. The boss fights are spectacular. The Doom Hunter, the Khan Maker, the Icon of Sin. Each one requires different strategies and keeps you on your toes. The set pieces are absurd. Fighting on top of a skyscraper, battling through a demon-infested fortress, platforming through ancient alien structures. The DualSense adds feedback to every weapon, the Super Shotgun, the Ballista, the BFG 9000. The load times are fast, so dying doesn't kill momentum. The soundtrack by Mick Gordon is legendary, heavy, pulse-pounding metal that syncs perfectly with the chaos. Doom Eternal frequently drops to under $20 on sale, and it's an absolute must-play. If you want an adrenaline rush, this is it. Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate is the definitive fighting game package, and at under $20, it's a ridiculous value. You're getting the full base game, all the DLC characters, all the story expansions, and all the cosmetics. The roster's massive. Classic characters like Scorpion and Sub-Zero, guest fighters like Rambo and RoboCop, and DLC additions like Melina and Rain. The variety is absurd, and every character feels distinct. The story mode is surprisingly good. It's a time travel multiverse story that's equal parts serious and campy, and it works. The cutscenes are well produced, the voice acting is solid, and the fights are integrated into the narrative naturally. Then there's the Towers of Time, the crypt exploration, the online modes. There's so much content here that you could play for months and still not see everything. The combat is brutal and satisfying. The DualSense makes every bone-crushing hit, every fatal blow, every fatality feel visceral. The graphics are incredible. The character models, the stages, the gore. MK11 Ultimate is perfect for casual button mashing with friends or serious competitive play. At under $20, this is one of the best fighting game deals on PS5. If you've never played Mortal Kombat, this is the version to get. Demon's Souls is what happens when you take a PS3 cult classic and rebuild it from the ground up for hardware that can finally do it justice. Bluepoint's remake is stunning. Bulletaria looks like a gothic painting you can walk through, and the lighting is so moody that even dying feels cinematic. The DualSense adds immersion where you feel every sword clang, every shield block, every arrow release with terrifying precision. But here's where the next-gen feeling really hits. The load times are gone. You die, and you will die, and you're back in the action in under 3 seconds. No punishment, no waiting, just pure, okay, let's try that again energy. It turns one of the most brutal games ever made into something almost addictive because the flow never breaks. The Tower Knight fight, where this massive armored giant is stomping toward you and you feel every footstep through the controller, that's the moment you realize this isn't just a remake. The boss fights are legendary. The Flame Lurker chase through burning halls, the Dragon God Arena where you're running between cover while fireballs rain down, the final battle with King Allant and his crumbling throne room. It's hard as hell, but it's also one of the most rewarding experiences on PS5. When it drops under $20 on major sales, it's an absolute must-buy, worth every frustrating death. Returnal is a roguelike bullet hell masterpiece, and the fact that it now drops to under $20 on sales is insane. This game is punishing, beautiful, and so next-gen it almost feels like it's from a different console generation. The entire experience is built on the PS5 speed. There are no loading screens between biomes, no pauses between deaths, just this endless loop of dying, learning, and diving back in. You feel the momentum. The DualSense integration is legitimately game-changing. The adaptive triggers let you hold L2 halfway for your standard shot or push all the way through for your alt fire, and it becomes muscle memory within an hour. You're dodging neon projectiles, feeling every raindrop hit your suit through the haptics, hearing enemy audio spatially placed through the controller speaker. The Crimson Waste fight against Ixion, a lightning-fast boss in a sandstorm, is where you realize this game doesn't mess around. The story is cryptic and atmospheric, and when the final pieces click, it's genuinely haunting. Returnal is hard, stressful, and will destroy you repeatedly, but when you finally break through and clear a biome in one perfect run, it feels like you just conquered something genuinely special. If you want a game that pushes the PS5 harder than anything else, this is it, worth every dollar on sale. Sackboy: A Big Adventure is pure, concentrated platforming joy, and it's the kind of game that reminds you why you fell in love with gaming in the first place. You're playing as Sackboy, Little Big Planet's hero, through beautifully designed levels filled with creativity, charm, and optional co-op chaos. The level variety is absurd. One moment you're bouncing through candy worlds, the next you're navigating mechanical factories or underwater ruins. The highlights are the music levels, stages where the environment pulses to the beat of licensed tracks, Uptown Funk, Material Girl, Jungle Boogie. You're jumping, grabbing, and dodging in rhythm, and when everything syncs perfectly, it's magical. The co-op is excellent. Up to 4 players can tackle levels together, and the chaos is hilarious. The DualSense makes every jump, every grab, every bounce feel tactile and satisfying. The game is surprisingly meaty, about 12 to 15 hours for the main story, and way more if you're hunting collectibles. The difficulty ramps up nicely, and the optional challenges are genuinely tough. Sackboy frequently drops to around $20 on sale, and it's perfect for families or anyone who wants a feel-good platformer. It's accessible, charming, and packed with moments that make you smile. Absolutely worth it. Ratchet & Clank Ripped Apart is the perfect showcase for what the PS5 can do, and now that it's frequently on sale for under $20, it's an absolute steal. This game was built around the console's SSD. You're rifting between dimensions mid-combat with zero loading, and the momentum never breaks. You're leaping from a neon city to a pirate dimension to a crystalline hellscape, and the game never blinks. The best moments are the spectacle. The factory level, where dimensions are collapsing around you in real time. The pirate dimension, with its vertical platforming and chaotic battles. The final showdown with Dr. Nefarious that throws every mechanic at you at once. The DualSense work is phenomenal. Every weapon has its own haptic signature. The burst pistol feels like popcorn in your hands. The Negatron Collider hums with dangerous vibration. And experimenting with your arsenal is half the fun. The visuals are Pixar quality, running at smooth 60 FPS with zero compromises. The story is fun, the writing is sharp, and the whole thing wraps up cleanly in about 10-12 hours. Rift Apart on sale for under $20 is highway robbery in the best way. If you skipped it at launch because of the price, now's the time. This is a next-gen showcase that justifies the console's existence. Kena: Bridge of Spirits is a gorgeous action-adventure game that looks like a Pixar movie you can play. The art style is stunning. Lush forests, ancient ruins, spirits that are equal parts adorable and haunting. You play as Kena, a spirit guide helping corrupted souls find peace, and the story is simple but emotionally effective. The world building is subtle but rewarding if you pay attention. The combat is more challenging than it looks. You're dodging, parrying, and using the rot, tiny spirit creatures, to distract enemies and land heavy attacks. The boss fights are highlights, battling corrupted spirits in arenas filled with environmental hazards, each requiring different strategies. One fight had you dodging a forest guardian's massive attacks while directing rot to exploit openings. Another had you purifying a cursed shrine while waves of enemies closed in. The DualSense adds subtle touches, feeling arrows release, sensing the rot scurrying around, hearing environmental audio through the controller speaker. The exploration is relaxing, the puzzles are clever, and the platforming feels tight. Kino won't blow your mind, but it's a complete, polished experience you can finish in about 10-12 hours. It frequently drops to around $20 on sale, and it's perfect for when you want something beautiful and heartfelt without the stress. Bugsnax is one of the weirdest, most charming games on PS5, and it's way better than it has any right to be. You're a journalist investigating a mysterious island inhabited by creatures called Bugsnax, half bug, half snack. The premise sounds ridiculous, and it is, but the game leans into the absurdity while also telling a surprisingly emotional story about community, identity, and acceptance. The gameplay loop is addictive. You're exploring different biomes, setting traps, and capturing Bugsnax using various gadgets. Each creature has unique behaviors and weaknesses, and figuring out how to catch them is genuinely satisfying. The strawbee that rolls around leaving a trail of jam, the bunger that charges at you like a tiny burger battering ram, the cheepoofs that fly away if you get too close. Feeding them to the island's inhabitants transforms their bodies in weird and hilarious ways. The story gets darker than you'd expect. The final act takes a turn that's genuinely surprising, and the emotional beats land. The voice acting is excellent, and the characters are memorable. Bugsnax is regularly priced around $15 to $20, and it's perfect for anyone who loved Viva Pinata or just wants something different. It's quirky, heartfelt, and way more substantial than it looks. It Takes Two is the best co-op game on PS5, and it's not even close. You're playing as a couple on the verge of divorce who've been turned into dolls by their daughter's tears, and you have to work together to fix your relationship. The story is surprisingly heartfelt, the writing is funny and emotional, and the gameplay is endlessly creative. Every level introduces completely new mechanics. You're never doing the same thing twice. The highlights are the sheer variety. One level you're piloting a spaceship and fighting wasps. Another has you playing as a wizard and barbarian in a dungeon crawler. There's a level where you're competing in party games, another where you're navigating a music box. The set pieces are spectacular. The kaleidoscope level, the cuckoo clock escape, the final confrontation with the vacuum. Every chapter feels like a different game, and it all works because the core co-op mechanics are so tight. The DualSense adds feedback to every action, and the split-screen performance is flawless. It Takes Two requires a friend. There's no solo mode, but if you have someone to play with, this is essential. It frequently drops to around $20 on sale, and it's worth every dollar. Whether you're playing with a partner, a friend, or a family member, this is one of the most joyful gaming experiences you can have. Sifu is a martial arts revenge story that you can technically beat in a few hours, but realistically, it's going to take you longer because you're going to die a lot. This is a brutally difficult game where every encounter is a puzzle, learning enemy patterns, mastering parries, chaining combos, and managing your aging system where dying makes you older and weaker. It's tough, but it's also incredibly satisfying when everything clicks. The structure is perfect for repeated playthroughs. 5 levels, each ending with a boss fight that will test everything you've learned. The nightclub level with its neon lighting and relentless waves of enemies. The museum where you're fighting through art installations while dodging attacks. The sanctuary boss fight where you're dueling a master martial artist in a bamboo forest, and every mistake costs you. The combat feels weighty and impactful. Every punch, kick, and takedown has this brutal physicality that makes victories feel earned. The DualSense makes every hit land with satisfying feedback, and the 60 FPS performance keeps combat smooth. When you finally beat the game and achieve true mastery, maybe even getting the good ending, it feels like an accomplishment. Sifu frequently drops to around $20 on sale, and if you want a weekend challenge that'll make you feel like a kung fu god by the end, this is it. Stray is a game where you play as a cat in a cyberpunk city, and that pitch alone is enough to sell most people. The campaign is short, about 5 to 6 hours, but every moment is beautifully crafted. You're navigating neon silk streets, solving environmental puzzles, and slowly uncovering the mystery of what happened to humanity. The atmosphere is incredible, lonely, melancholic, but also strangely hopeful. The world feels lived in, and the robots you meet have so much personality. The best moments are the quiet ones. Curling up to sleep in a pile of blankets, knocking objects off shelves just because you can, meowing at robots who respond with confusion and delight. But there are also tense sequences, being chased by Zerks through dark tunnels, sneaking past sentinels in the dead city. The dual sense makes you feel every footstep, every purr, every scratch on a door, and it adds so much to the immersion. The ending hits emotionally in a way I wasn't expecting from a game about a cat. Stray respects your time, tells a complete story, and leaves you wanting more in the best way possible. It frequently drops to around $15 to $20 on sale, and it's perfect for a lazy Saturday afternoon. If you love cats, this is mandatory. If you don't, Stray might change your mind. Hades is one of the best roguelikes ever made, and it's the game that made people who hate roguelikes fall in love with the genre. You're playing as Zagreus, son of Hades, trying to escape the underworld, and every run is different. The combat is fast, fluid, and endlessly satisfying. You're chaining dashes, abilities, and weapon attacks while dodging projectiles in these beautifully designed arenas. The weapon variety is incredible, and every god you meet offers different boons that change your build completely. But here's what makes Hades special. The story doesn't reset when you die. Every time you fail and return to the House of Hades, characters remember what happened. You're building relationships, uncovering secrets, and slowly piecing together Zagreus' motivations. The writing is phenomenal, witty, emotional, and fully voice-acted. The moment you finally break through to the surface for the first time, or when you unlock the true ending after dozens of runs, it feels earned in a way few games achieve. The DualSense adds subtle feedback to every weapon and ability, and the music is an absolute banger. Hades regularly drops to under $10 on sale, and even at full price, it's a steal. If you've never played a roguelike, start here. If you have, you already know this is essential, worth every penny. Look, this list is subjective, and I'm sure I missed someone's favorite budget game. Maybe you think I'm crazy for including Mortal Kombat 11. Or maybe you're mad I didn't mention your hidden gem. That's fine. Gaming is personal, and what resonates with me might not hit the same for you. The point is, these 19 games prove you don't need to spend $70 to have an incredible time on PS5. So here's the question. Which budget game do you think is the best value on PS5? Did I sleep on something? Are you planning to grab any of these during the next sale? Let me know in the comments. And if your backlog is already overwhelming and I just made it worse by adding 5 more games to your wish list, I'm sorry. But also, you're welcome. If this video helped you save money while still finding great games to play, hit that like button and subscribe. I'll keep making these lists as long as you keep watching. Now go wait for a sale and grab something that's actually worth your hard-earned cash.